What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be reviewing a new Heavyocity library. And this is their newest product in their Mosaic line called Tape. So it's a very interesting library because I feel like the Mosaic series focuses on a kind of a more niche product line of their bigger series. Like they have keys and vocals, I believe, a couple other ones. And then this newest one, Tape, really focuses on the effect of analog tape on traditional sound sources, or maybe not so traditional anyway. But let's get into it a little bit here. I just kind of want to share my impressions with you. So if you know me, like I kind of prefer the traditional orchestral sound. As a result, I don't own that many Heavyocity libraries just because like that the vision they have is quite sound design based, kind of similar to like Sound Iron, for example. They take these beautifully recorded sound sources and give you the ability to mangle them and twist them and warp them to your heart's content. And while that is perfectly suitable for many sound designers and film composers, for me, it can get a little intimidating and overwhelming. But a library like this kind of makes it pretty simple because it's quite a niche library, but it's also not too niche at the same time. So if we just go through the library here, this is what comes up as soon as you open the patch. And here you can see, according to the mod wheel, it controls the amount of tape and saturation that is applied to the signal. So here, let me just play a couple of these, a couple notes here so you can get a sense of what it sounds like. Okay, let me get into maybe some of these arpeggiated patterns. I really like this Christmas time one, so let me start by just playing one note. You can kind of hear that tape being applied there. Some warble happening. And then it's more to that full sound again. Add some notes. So you get this nice, like, dedicated sound source, which is beautiful. The really cool stuff happens when you go into the options folder and you can actually switch out these instruments, right? So for channel 1, like basically each of these sounds are 3 sounds layered in one, So like this first one is the wood toy right now. But let's say we wanted to choose an orchestral sound instead. Let's say we go with burned strings. So that sounds like this. If I turn off the other two, kind of sounds like that. Tubular bell sounds like this. And then the robot spinning, it's more of like a noise thing, if you will. And I think for a lot of these sounds in these snapshots, channel number 3 is dedicated for like a noise sound. So it kind of adds that nice analog tape sound to it, almost like an electric fuzzy type of sound, which is really cool, right? So putting them all together, right? And you can see you can tweak them to your heart's content. But going back to the mixer, turn it back down, you get the more natural sound source again. So the control and mixer panels are quite similar, but in the mixer, it's basically all about the volume, the panning, and the tuning. Whereas in the control, you can actually shape the sound kind of the way you want it to be, like attack, sustain, decay, and release, start, end samples, the tails and all of that. And then of course you can solo and mute as you like. But the options are where you can actually like switch out the different instruments. So that's really cool. And then in the Arpeggiator, this is where you can actually activate the different volumes of each of these instruments. So if I just want to hear the burned strings by themselves, it gets louder here, gets quieter there, gets louder again, and quieter again. Let's combine that with maybe something like this for the second instrument. So the tubular bells get louder, get quieter, get louder, right? So that is only the volume being affected there. You know, you can affect the rate of the arpeggiation, the number of steps there. So you could go to like eighths, you can go to as many as you want or as few as you like there, and then you can you can set the type of run you want as well. So one shot, legato, that could be cool. Anyway, there's just a lot to go over. And if you kind of want a dedicated walkthrough of the library itself, definitely check out Heavyocity's library walkthroughs on their channel. So really beautiful stuff. So these snapshots are really where you can play around with it. Let's see, playable. Let's go into maybe a big but lo-fi piano. So I've looked into this. So now if I turn up the mod wheel, you're gonna hear that sound, that noise being applied. Go back down. And now we're back to that original sound source a little bit more, right? So the focus of this library is really on that tape emulation sound. Really, really cool. And then in terms of the rhythmic, this is where you can have these beds, just like a one-touch bed. So like a... just fade away. So that's kind of the main feature of this library. I think it is really cool. Like this library series is quite simple, but with the variety of sound sources that you get and the ability to layer in your own sounds and come up with, really an endless amount of combinations, orchestral, keys and tune per, choirs, noise, and attacks. The layering capability is really quite vast. So once you find the combination you like, you can really just automate the amount of tape saturation you introduce into the library, into the sound, into the signal to give it the amount of color you want. So that's where I think the library stands out, and that's how it's marketed, as a library with many sound sources and lots of snapshots that the team put together, and you can affect it using the tape control however much you like. So that's really interesting. Of course, you can drag it to your own heart's content, but the fact that you can do it with a mod wheel and perform it live is always really cool. Yeah, and just the macro sequencing, you can tweak this to your heart's content as well. And then the master effects is a whole bunch of stuff that like reverb and delay, those make sense. Master EQ, that just affects the overall sound, right? Aging, that's kind of a cool way to put it, but I would assume that's kind of like the amount of noise there is, amount of warble. We already talked about that. Like the higher up you push the mod wheel, the more of a warble there is to that sound. And then of course the punish knob, the classic punish knob. If you turn it all the way up, then let's hear one of these. Let's see if I put it at 84. Then you hear it's really affected there, right? Actually, sorry, I guess it wasn't activated before, but there you go. So the classic punish knob is still there. It's way under master effects, but there we go. So yeah, the entire concept of the library is really neat. I just think this is a cool library I wanted to share with you, and I want to thank Heavyocity for sending me this library to review, to take a look at. And for me personally, I could see myself using it if I want this background soundscape. Maybe it could be rhythmic, or it could just be a pad, like a playable type of thing. But if I'm looking for that warm analog sound, then this library will be what I turn to. Instead of having to apply external plugins, I can go into this library with an endless amount of sound sources from the beginning and just kind of take a look at what combinations I can come up with and then apply the tape accordingly to that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my kind of like first impressions of this library. It's just a fun one to play around with when I have some downtime and I'm looking for some inspiration. Heavyocity stuff always tends to do that. They just inspire you and give you some new ideas. So it's really cool. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you're curious about any new libraries, and maybe the ones that like I recommend on a daily basis that I personally use all the time, just check out the first link in the description box. It is my cinematic orchestral libraries guide. It's absolutely free, but if you're just on the market looking for some, dedicated workhorse libraries for like strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion, even ethnic libraries, jazz libraries, piano libraries, I cover all of that in the guide, and I'll share exactly the libraries I use almost every single day for my work. So I think it'll really help you if you're on the lookout for some new libraries, and if you're just interested in my recommendations, I share that all with you in this guide. So again, it's absolutely free. Just download it in the first link, and I hope it really helps you. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.